Do you know if on the night that Biggie was killed, if Perez and Mack were on duty that night?
Mac wasn't, Perez was. Perez has a partner. He's working over in his neck of the woods, one of the neighboring jurisdictions. All that was obviously investigated after the allegations. So he was accounted for. He worked. David Mack was not working. David Mack had taken what we call TOs. And these are, when you work overtime, you accumulate this bank of hours. And you have this big, depending on how much overtime you work, you have all this time at your leisure that you can utilize to extend the number of days off you have in the week, or to take a special day off for a birthday or whatever. So you use this, what we call TO time. And so that's what Mac had done. He extended his days off by taking a couple extra days based on his overtime bank.
Okay. It was said that at the scene of the Biggie crime that there was an officer present that was R. Perez. Was that the same Rafael Perez, or was that somebody different?
I don't believe it was R. Perez. The guy did have a last name of Perez. See, when you come to a crime scene, one officer is assigned to keep what's called a crime scene log. And when you set up your crime scene, anybody from the police department that shows up or has anything to do with that, in the fire department and any other personnel, everybody's put into a log, and to keep track of who was there. Well, there's a Perez there that was working, I think, Wilshire Division, and it's got his serial number there, and it's got his unit number there, and it has his partner's name there, and it says what they did there. So you can just look at the log and go, yeah, there's a Perez. Obviously, it's not Rafael Perez because it's not the same serial number, it's not the unit he works, and it's not the partner that he has. So Perez is like not an uncommon name. There's probably 100 of them in the LAPD. But the conspiracy theorists like to say, look, there's a Perez. Let's attach this to this conspiracy theory because it's convenient. They don't take the time to be honest and say, well, clearly that's not Rafael Perez. So to answer your question, there was no Rafael Perez in or around the Peterson Automobile Museum that night. His whereabouts was accounted for by the people that he was working with. Nobody could say they saw him there that has any credibility. And of course, there was a Perez there that wasn't him.
Okay. To the best of your knowledge, were any Rampart cops ever found to be working for Wright Way Security or Death Row Records in any way?
No, not at all. Not in any way, shape, or form. There was an LAPD officer. He was a sergeant named Kevin McCauley. He was working over at Wright Way. The department became aware of it. They chastised him for it. He took it upon himself to continue to violate the orders that the department had given him, and stayed connected over there, and ultimately ended up losing his job as a result of it. So the LAPD was very keen on finding out, who do we have, if anybody. He was the main guy that was identified, and I think Reggie's probably familiar with McCauley. And nobody else, certainly nobody from Rampart. And McCauley, I think, was working Newton Division at the time. And I think there was one or two other guys that either had worked once or twice, and Reggie, maybe he can, maybe he has his own employee records. Guys that were going to be part of it, but once the department came out and said, listen, that's a no-fly zone. Nobody gets to work anywhere around Death Row Records. We just aren't having it. So those guys didn't. I can't remember. I think one of the guys' name was, his name's in the files. I can see him too. I can't remember his name. Yeah. But his name never came up in any kind of context of anything.
All right. Can you explain Perez and Mack's relationship with Chief Parks?
I don't really know that there was any. There's rumor that Parks had something to do with. This is rumor, so I'm apprehensive about even saying it because rumor will then become truth or fact to people who want it to be. But there was some rumor that they had some history or background that Parks was aware of David Mack being a very accomplished athlete and would be a desirable candidate for the police job. I don't have no reason to believe that's true, but I don't know if it's false. I just don't. But that's the rumor that's out there. You can go back and pull, all these guys have personnel records. They have their personal, we call them jackets, but they're files. And it says, who were your references that you used to get on the job? When you applied for the police department, it asked you to give references. Well, most certainly, if David Mack were going to get sponsored by the likes of Parks, who, keep in mind, was not the chief of police at all at the time David Mack entered the police department, you would have most certainly wrote that down as, here's my reference, here's a high-ranking official within the department, that's my sponsor. But of course that doesn't exist. So again, you can go back and look at the records where there should be information if these rumors are true, but they're non-existent.
Okay. Gekko bullets. Can you explain a little bit about Gekko bullets, and are those bullets rare in any way?
Well, they're not as popular as like Smith and Wesson ammunition or Winchester ammunition or Remington ammunition. They're really popular ammunitions that are found across the country. But Gekko was not like rare the way it was portrayed. Gekko Ammo was sold in, I think, 27 firearm outlets just in Southern California alone. There were two main distributors because Gekko Ammo came from Germany. So when it's shipped over here, there's an East Coast distribution facility and a West Coast distribution facility. Well, from that West Coast distribution facility, it goes out to all of the various firearms and ammunition providers. And like Turner's in Los Angeles, which is where a lot of gang members in South Central LA would go to get their ammunition and to buy firearms. And Turner's had Gekko. So it was not that rare, and it was showing up in other crime scenes in the city of Los Angeles in around that time period, including Compton. So, it wasn't this, golden bullet that was so rare that that it identified this crime that as being unique among all others. It wasn't that at all. It just happened to be an uncommon ammo that you couldn't put too much emphasis on it. It's less about the ammo than it is about the gun that fired the ammo. And of course, we never recovered a gun that we know of. So, every firearm that was tested as a result of this investigation didn't match.
Okay. Yeah, the reason I bring that up, obviously, conspiracy theorists say that Mack was found with that kind of ammunition. Therefore, that's kind of like the thing that links him to the Biggie murder, and that would make him absolutely positively the gunman.
Okay.
So that's the reason I asked.
It's a great, and let me piggyback on that. If that were true, right? Because keep in mind, he got arrested for bank robbery. The search warrants at his house and of his locker at work. That all happened after the murder of Biggie Smalls, right? So if Biggie Smalls has evidence of Gekko Ammo being used to kill him, and then this search warrant is done on a cop's house down the road, and they find that same type of ammunition, that's going to be logged somewhere. It's going to be on a property report. They're going to be on this date and time, these officers went to David Mack's house, they served a search warrant, and they found ammunition, and here's the ammunition name, and it would have been on a property report. Not only on an LAPD property report, it would have been on an FBI property report because at the time that was an FBI investigation into the bank robbery. So you got FBI agents at the house who are logging things, taking evidence that was pursuant to the bank robbery. You've got the LAPD there. They're taking evidence, logging stuff, and confiscating weapons and radios and that type of shit. But you won't find a single document that says anything about Gekko ammunition. So either all of these officers from both of these agencies were all conspiring to suppress or to dismiss this, which is ludicrous, or it didn't exist. So these guys today that are saying, Gekko Ammo was found in his house, I challenge you. Pull up the fucking property report, because it's going to be listed there. But guess what? It doesn't exist.